Thank you for tuning in to TalkWad.com, the world's fastest growing internet radio network. Please check out all the other great shows on www.talkwad.com. Welcome to Think Up, Unlimited Possibilities. This show is designed to uplift you as well as explore the cohesive nature of the universe in order to discover the unlimited possibilities available through converging and expanding consciousness. And here's your host, Patricia V. Scott.
Hello, this is Patricia. I just love that intro song, don't you? I just love that. It's so up. And you know I love that word up because this is Think Up Unlimited Possibilities. And if you've been listening or if you go back and listen to any of the archived shows, you'll know that UP stands for Unlimited Possibilities, of course. And it is the name of my company, the UP Hypnosis Institute, although the full name is Unlimited Possibilities Hypnosis Incorporated. And when I give classes, I tell the story about how I came up with that UP. I may have actually done this in the first show, but it bears repeating, maybe, perhaps, that when I was trying to come up with a logo, when I first named my company, I was going to call it Possibilities Unlimited. This is way back out in California about 21 years ago when I first became a certified hypnotherapist. And that Possibilities Unlimited sounded cool. And my parents used to have a flying club when I was a teenager. My stepdad and my mom had a flying club called Foster Aviation Limited. And there were a lot of companies calling themselves something limited back then. So I thought something unlimited would be really cool. So I was going to call my company Possibilities Unlimited until I got on what was the old-fashioned computer back in those days and was attempting to make a logo for the company, and it came up with PU. And I thought to myself, that's not exactly the image or the internal representation, as we would say in NLP and hypnosis. When you hear something, see something, take something in through any of your senses, you form an internal representation. We call them IRs. And that was what we call a negative IR. So I dumped that, and all of a sudden I turned it around and I put, well, how about unlimited possibilities? And then, of course, that up just jumped right out at me. And I said, there it is. It's amazing how things happen, isn't it? One thing I know about this field that I have been drawn to is that it opens up some kind of a channel, that unconscious mind, that creative mind, the realm of the imagination, the abstract, which is where I love to live, of course. That's my favorite place. I love dreams. I love to guide my dreams. Did you know that you can guide your dreams? I found this out kind of by accident. Of course, there are no accidents. We find things out, I think, that are designed to teach us something if we pay attention. And that's another thing that these techniques are about. And the world that I live in is about being more aware and picking up on those little clues, those little things that will help you to lead you into the direction that's going to make your life more fulfilling, more upbeat, healthier, happier, all of those wonderful things. And when I was younger, that thing about coincidences, they were happening all the time. And every time I'd follow my what some people call gut instinct, intuition, whatever you want to call that realm, whenever you follow that, what I found out very, very young in life was that it always, without exception, turns out much, much better than if you go against it and listen to all of the data, all of the experts, all of the opinions that are coming at you from people and in the outside world. So the times that I took a turn in the opposite direction where everyone was attempting to tell me I should go in my life, I can mark those in my history as the times when my life took a turn for an amazing and incredible turn for something that would have never, ever, even in my wildest imaginations, could have been possible. So I guess the theme for tonight's show is going to be something completely different than what I thought it was going to be, which happens to me quite often because I follow my instincts. And it is about those little idiosyncratic moments, those things, I call them, those things that just seem to drop out of the sky right in front of you, those moments when the universe just kind of all comes together and things just happen. Now, most people out there now, of course, we have that wonderful movie, What the Bleep, and everyone's heard of the power of attraction. There's lots of classes and meetups and wonderful things out there about that concept. And yet, of course, like anything else and everything else, I believe it it isn't new. I really, really don't believe there's anything new. And, Einstein, I believe it was, who said energy can't be destroyed. It's only transformed into another form. It takes on another character, another form. So I really like that idea, and I believe that based on my observations of what I've had the privilege to experience and to witness in my life and my careers up to this point. Because as some of you know that have been listening, my previous career, I've been doing this 21 years, was in show business, and I spent 20 years as a singer, an actress. Performed on stage in theaters. I did movies and film and commercials and voiceovers and a little bit of everything. And it was also just so amazing. I never dreamed I would ever do anything else. And that was my dream as a child. So there you are. And 20 years later, the universe again stepped in and with those hands on my back started pushing me in this direction. So here I am now behind a microphone once again. And the first show that I did here was actually on, I believe, the spirituality channel that they have here at Talkwad Radio. And by the way, if you'd like to call in anytime, I don't mind interruptions because I tend to move around in circles and make loops, and I usually end up closing the important ones eventually. You can call in at 727-493-2055. That's 727-493-2055. And this is Patricia Scott. This is Think Up Unlimited Possibilities. Call in anytime. I love to talk. That's why I have my radio show now. So the first time I came in here, it was to be a guest with Janet Reynolds. Wonderful, interesting, phenomenal Janet Reynolds, who I'd known for several years through a women's networking group that I belong to. And she had started her radio show a few months ago. And in December of last year, 2012, she invited me to come be her guest. And I thought, oh, how cool. I love being in studios. And when I used to write songs, I used to sing in studios back in my Nashville days when I was writing country music for the good old Oak Ridge Boys. And I used to sing backup for Kathy Mattea. Back then, before they had big record deals, I sang backup for Kathy Mattea and Vince Gill and sang on stage with Randy Travis when he was Randy Ray, and coming out of the kitchen with his apron on to wash after washing dishes, and he'd get up and sing, and we'd all say we called him Mr. Personality because he was so boring. Anyway, but I digress, or regress, or something. Anyway, little instant age regression there for me. So I came in to do the radio show with Janet Reynolds. See, I told you I'd close that loop. That's the way my mind works. And she has, I think her show is called Insight, I believe. I hope I got that right. If not, I will correct it on my next show. Insight, I believe it is. And it's on the spirituality channel at talkwad.com, the wonderful radio station that I am on the internet. And I came in and I sat behind the microphone with her. And I look over and she's got sitting in front of her a book called The Wizard Within by Dr. A.M. Krasner, Al Krasner. And I knew that name and I knew that book because it is the book written by my very first teacher in hypnosis that I studied with out in Santa Ana, California, 21 years ago. And I was like, wow, what's that book doing there? And she says, well, I studied with Dr. Krasner many years ago. And I was just flummoxed. Is that a word? That's the right word, I think. It was amazing to me. It was one of those little idiosyncratic things. I'd known her for a long time, didn't even realize that she had trained many years ago in hypnosis. Now, that's not her major thing she does anymore, but I'm sure it has assisted her in many ways in her life, as it can only do, whether you expect it to or not. It just does. And there it was. And there was that book. And it turns out that is the book that I fought for to be the textbook for my trainings that I do for the International Association of Counselors and Therapists, which I just happen to have one starting tomorrow night. I'm so excited. Maybe that's why I'm so upbeat, even more than usual. I'm usually up, but today I feel really up because I get to do what I love all weekend long. And I've got some amazing people coming into this class that some of them I've known for a while that I'm really excited about having them there. And hopefully I'll convince them to come and be on the show to talk about their experiences learning to become a certified hypnotherapist with Patricia Scott at the Up Hypnosis Institute in Palm Harbor, Florida. So there you go. You can go to uphypnosis.com, by the way, and if you email me at info@uphypnosis.com, I will send you a free pamphlet. I didn't bring it tonight, but I give something free away every time I do this show. And I will send you a free booklet that I give out when I do my self-hypnosis classes. I teach a 3-hour self-hypnosis class once a month because it is all self-hypnosis. And like I said, this show is not necessarily only about hypnosis, but I happen to be a hypnotherapist and an NLP practitioner, master practitioner. So I do talk about those things because they are some of the more modern day techniques. Well, hypnosis is a little older, but the more recent techniques that are being used with a lot of the things that I talk about, that are ways to keep yourself up. And up includes physical, don't forget. We had a few shows on the studies back in the 70s with Simonton, Dr. Simonton, who did the studies on using visualization for cancer patients to eliminate tumors. And so it has been since the 70s been really accelerating the use of hypnosis in the medical community. And I will from time to time, because that is probably my main passion with using hypnosis with my clients, is the medical side of it, because I get a lot of referrals from doctors, and it's phenomenal for pain relief. The brain has so many chemicals. See, we forget that the design is already there. Before anything that man invented outside of himself, he had his mind. The mind has always had all of these unlimited possibilities. I really believe that. And there are all the chemicals in the body that we need for pain relief, for eliminating allergies, even if you think of an allergy, when you encounter a substance that you're not used to, let's say you've lived somewhere that didn't have oak trees, and all of a sudden you live somewhere. I was right down the street from Thousand Oaks, California, when I was in California. Say you move somewhere like that, and all of a sudden you got thousands and thousands of oak trees around. All of a sudden you start sneezing your head off, as they say. Now, you can today, what do people do? They go to their doctor. The doctor says, you have an allergy to oak trees. Here's your medicine. That's the end of it. You take medicine for the rest of your life. And spring starts to come, or whatever time your allergies tend to show up, you go, oh, it's time to start. Here come the allergies. Oh, it's this season, it's that season, and in reality, before those medical doctors had invented something for allergies, people used to sneeze now and then, and they didn't make a big deal out of it. And sometimes they probably sneezed a lot. I still do. Every now and then, I have like a 2 or 3 day phase where I'll sneeze sporadically for like 8 or 10 or 12 times, sometimes more, and then it'll stop for a few hours, and then I do it again, and this will go on sometimes for 2-3 days, and I just I know my body's going to figure it out, and because I know it and because I trust it, it does. Now that might sound overly optimistic to someone out there who isn't aware of these things, but in one of the shows I did, I was talking about a clinic out in allergy clinic out in Texas, and there's a colleague of mine, her name is Ann King, who got with that clinic and wanted to prove, because we all have been working with allergies. I've gotten rid of my allergies even before I learned hypnosis, so it wasn't a major leap for me to think that I could get rid of them now that I know even more efficient techniques about it, on how to do that. So anyway, Ann King has a hypnosis center out in Houston. Actually, I don't know if it's Houston. It's somewhere in Texas. I don't recall right now what town it is, but in Texas. And she decided to verify, to get it documented, to get some real data into the research books about how hypnosis helps with allergies, because she, like all the rest of us, had been helping people to eliminate allergies. Just, it's just getting the proof is interesting. So she decided to go to an allergy clinic in her area. And what she did was she did a research project with them and had them do a blood test before she did the session with the patients of the allergy clinic. And then she would have them do a blood test after the session. Now we're talking a single session, a really cool, very easy, very simple, deceptively simple visualization technique, and takes them through it. And the people in the study 70% of them, proven by blood tests, had eliminated they had to do a single allergy at a time. Their allergy was gone, proven by blood test, 70% of them in one session. Now, some took 2 or 3 sessions, and many of them later came back, she says, and explained that they had asthma as well, and that it had gone, that it was gone. So that without even realizing it, they were also eliminating their asthma. So very similar types of responses. So it's not surprising to me that that would be a side benefit. And as we talk about hypnosis, I think it was the very first show that I did where I was talking about the misconceptions of hypnosis, the myths. And we'll touch on those again. As different things are relevant, I will repeat things. I will expand on things and concepts that I've talked about, because it is all about really forming a new mindset, forming a different frame of the world, forming a different way of thinking about things. And Einstein said, if you use the same mindset that created the problem, to try to solve it, it isn't going to work very well, or something like that. So, if you've got something that is problematic for you, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, on whatever you call that other realm of the more abstract realm, there's lots of names for, depending on your belief systems and your attitudes and your whatever you've learned. On every level, if there's something that isn't in balance, it's going to filter out and affect everything else anyway. So whatever your most major challenge in your life is, and one thing about the word challenge is we like to come up to a challenge generally. Most people, the mindset when you use the word challenge, words are very powerful. Think about this. When you say I'm challenged, I have a challenge. The tendency for the whole organism and the whole mind is to come up. It's an uplifting kind of way of thinking about it, as opposed to I have a problem or I have a crisis. That's the new buzzword, isn't it? Everything's a crisis now. I mean, they're calling so many things a crisis that it's giving crisis, is not going to mean anything anymore. Like so many ways that we pollute something to the point where it doesn't mean anything anymore. So, and remember, we are conditioned response humans. The human animal is a conditioned response animal, just like Pavlov's dogs, only much more evolved, of course, and yet we still get conditioned. We still have anchors and triggers. We have things that trigger. If you hear a song from back at an important point in your life that was significant that you haven't heard in 20, 30, 40 years, now I'm getting to the point where it's 50 years or more, since I'm in my 60s now. And, you hear a song and these emotions will erupt in your body. And you may not even remember. Sometimes you don't even necessarily remember what is triggering all these emotions. Maybe you're walking through a mall or through a store and a song's in the background. You don't even know it. And all of a sudden you get all these emotions flooding into your system. This is the way we're designed. This is a miraculous design by anybody's standards. It is a miraculous design. Doctors know this. And back to, hypnosis using the hypnotic techniques, the NLP techniques for pain relief it just makes sense, because we talked a couple of shows ago about the placebo effect. That's nothing more than the mind, along with expectation, and some form of belief, at least a little bit of belief that something may happen, and it's kind of like, again, getting out of your own way. That's a lot of what life's challenges are. We just got to get out of our own way, access our inner resources, our mental capacity, our physical capacity is always far more than we generally sense we have available, especially if we're thinking of something as a problem or an obstacle or a block, those kind of things. Creative blocks, for instance. When I used to write songs, I would get stuck on a lyric. And one time in particular, I remember, and I tell this story in my classes a lot. So if you're listening and you've taken classes with me, you may have heard this. But it really does work. And these are some of the things that happened to me in my previous life. I call it my past life of show business that led me to what I do now and made it so much more powerful, I think, than some people who maybe just started doing it for whatever other reasons. I was already doing it, and then I started searching, what was I doing? So when I would reach a creative block, it happened one time writing a song with another lady who was putting music to it, Mika Apple, I remember her. And it was a beautiful song. It was a really cool song. I loved the song. And we got stuck on, I was the lyricist. I got stuck on the lyric, and she kept throwing one in that I really, really didn't like. It really didn't match what I was wanting to say. So what I did, we were on a deadline for the publishing company at Silverline Music over at the Oak Ridge Boys place. And here it was, I got stuck. So there I go. I started to lay down, and I found out that if I tell myself before I go to sleep, if I tell myself, so again, that's talking to yourself is talking to your unconscious. It's telling your mind what you would like for it to do, and it listens. It listens. So I would tell myself before I go to sleep, I know the perfect lyric. I know the perfect line for that to finish that song is there. I know it's out there, out there in the stratosphere somewhere, and I know it's there. And again, when you go to sleep, you get out of the way, don't you? Your conscious mind drifts off just like it does in hypnosis and some of these other techniques that I offer. And your unconscious mind, that smarter part of you that doesn't have all of those doubts and fears and stuff playing in the foreground with all of those conscious thoughts. And it has room. It opens that channel, I like to say, to that other realm again, where all that information just seems to be available. So I would go to sleep, and I'd always have a pen and paper next to the bed. And in the middle of the night, I'll be darned, there it was. And it had happened before, but this was a real deadline. It was a real crunch, and I was stressing out over it. So I let go of it. I put it in my unconscious. I let go of it. I fell asleep, and in the middle of the night, there it was. And it was perfect. It was perfect. I could have probably struggled with that for weeks and never have even discovered that perfect line. So I'm only telling you that because in your sleep is one way that you can program yourself. And I used to do this, like I said, before I even learned hypnosis. You can program yourself to have learning sleep. You can learn in your sleep. When I used to, there was a show that I did in Gatlinburg, Tennessee one time at Sweet Fanny Adams Theater. I'm talking more about my showbiz days than I ever have, but it's so much fun. And it's so relevant. And I got called in to replace a woman who had been she was I think going on the road with an opera company. It was a high soprano type voice part, and I had auditioned for these people earlier in the year, I guess, at a national audition, and they had me in their files. And this lady was leaving, and she didn't give them very much notice, and they called me, and so here I was. Had to take off from Nashville, go to Knoxville, Tennessee, or to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, to the Sweet Fanny Adams Dinner Theater. And I had 3 days. Now, in 3 days, I had to learn an original show. It was a 3-act play that they had written themselves, an original play by the Petersons, I think was their names, and all original music, all original dancing. The whole show was very fast-paced British comedy, very fast-paced British comedy. First time I ever used a British accent. Probably wasn't a very good one, but it was so much fun. And in 3 days, so it was like a marathon rehearsals, day and night, with very little sleep for 3 days because I had to be ready to go on the day that she was leaving. So I rehearsed with the director, the gentleman that was the director, and learned all the songs. And then I would record the rehearsals. And I would work with the music director to learn all the songs and the music. And then I would record it. And then when I fell asleep at night, I would turn it on and let it play the whole night while I'm sleeping. All of my lines, all of the cue lines from the other people, and all the music. 3 days later, I got on that stage, and it was amazing. I mean, it really was a lot of material. Singing, dancing, all very fast paced with about 6 or 7 or 8 people on stage at any given time, talking very quickly, back and forth, very fast pratter in that British style of the crazy British, as in the Tom Jones style is what it was. And there it was. So I was on stage being in the life and times of Millicent Sweetley, and I was Millicent, of course, as I was always the star of the show, as I am here, by the way. And isn't it fun being the star of your own show? Yes, it is. So, as I said, you can program your mind when you sleep. Your mind is always listening. The unconscious is always listening to you. You really want to pay attention to how you're talking to it, which means talking to yourself. Yourself is always listening. And your body, guess what? Your unconscious mind runs your body. So guess what? Whatever you're saying and whatever is being processed at the unconscious level, those internal representations, right? Like, oh, this is so good. This is going to be so hard. Oh my gosh, I hear that a lot with my smokers. Yeah, This is going to be so hard. It's always been hard for me. If you hear yourself saying that, just take a pause in your day. I like to do something that I've shown you before, and I call it pivotal response conditioning, PRC, because it sounded really cool for my dissertation when I was studying. And it's basically a way to shift from going down one track that your mind has a habit of going down that is no longer serving you, and how to hit pause. Take that remote control and hit pause. I like to press fingers and thumbs together, a la the yoga pose, the Buddha pose, or whatever pose that is. It's unimportant what you do, but I started with this, and it's just pressing a finger and thumb together. It represents pressing my own buttons, too. I like that. Taking a deep breath, that belly breath that I learned when I was singing opera, and then hitting pause. And for that moment, you're back in the moment. I think of it as getting back into your control center. Your mind is your control center. If it's all scattered out there, not that mine isn't sometimes, and sometimes it's fun to be scattered, but when you really need to be focused, hypnosis teaches you how to focus. These techniques are designed to learn how to use your mind. Like my teacher from Arizona, Dr. Preston, bless his heart, he said, we teach people how to think, how to use their mind. And the unlimited mind is always listening, waiting to draw on resources, talents, abilities, skills that you probably aren't even aware that you have. Everyone's heard the stories about the grandmother who was in a car accident and the baby was trapped under the car, and the grandmother finds this Herculean strength, if that's the right word, and lifts the car up. Or maybe you've even had a point in your a place in your history, a point in time when there was some traumatic experience happening, and you drew on resources that seemed to just show up out of nowhere because you didn't have time to think about it, and it just showed up. Hopefully you're one of those people, as opposed to the ones that start paying attention to all of the situation that's happening and then fall apart and cry and the poor me turn into victim mode, because those people are the ones that are also having to be helped in a crisis along with whatever the crisis is. So this, anyway, all of these techniques are about being stronger, accessing all that you have. I think we were given resources, talents, abilities, skills, all of these things that we were given, these gifts that we brought into the world with us, because we are obliged and obligated and to use them. I really, truly believe that. So I know that we all have much more than we realize. I sincerely hope that 5-10 years from now, I will have discovered some things about myself. Maybe I'll learn that I can actually be structured, organized. Maybe that'll be a new trait or talent that I will develop. I know it's in there somewhere because I actually did it when I was briefly working at an insurance company. I was very organized. So I know there are ways to do it. It's just I tend to enjoy living in the abstract world so nicely. It's such a beautiful place to be. So unless I absolutely have to, like preparing for this class this weekend, I have to be organized. And I do it when I need to. But most of the time, I like for this show, I bring in all of these things that I was going to refer to and read, and it's just sitting here. I probably won't even look at it. So, again, if you'd like to call in, this is talkwad.com. I am here live on the Think Up Unlimited Possibilities show every Thursday evening, 7:30 to 8:30, and you can call in at 727-493-2055. Don't we have a toll-free number? Frodo, Adam, he's not listening to me. We must have a toll-free number. I'll have to figure out how to get us a toll-free number here. Anyway, you can call in anytime. If you're watching this or listening to this at any other time other than when it's live on the archived shows, you can contact me at info@uphypnosis.com, up as in unlimited possibilities, or go to my website, and you can look at all the cool things that we do with this kind of thing. So I was going to talk a little bit tonight about hypnosis and some of the positive side effects. Side benefits, I guess would be a better way of saying it. Since we talked about the myths and the misconceptions, I do have in my notes here where even Freud, with all of his interesting personality things that he had going on, even he made a statement at one time, if I can find it here really quickly, that hypnosis, there we go. It says even Freud, who never really mastered hypnotherapeutic techniques, which is kind of an understatement, admitted that there were no harmful effects to using hypnosis for symptom removal. And that is something that we do with hypnosis, symptom removal. Now, I am going to go back and go over some of this because I want to explain that a little bit further than what that just brought up. But there are no harmful side effects. Everything that I notice, and again, 21 years of doing this as a profession, studying it and doing it for myself for about 20 years before that, or a little less than that maybe. And also I interact with a lot of other practitioners of this and similar techniques out in the world. There's a lot of people using other terms for hypnosis. Like I said, guided imagery, visualization, all of these things are hypnotic. Whether you call it that or not, they are hypnotic. And anytime you are focused on something very intently to the exclusion of the things that would interfere with that focus, such as hitting a golf ball, you are in a light alpha state. You are in a light state of a small, tiny hypnotic trance that is trained in the case of the golfer, that he can be playing golf and then he goes into that mini trance that he's trained in many times. The body and mind do what they need to do that they've already been trained to do at the unconscious level. He's not hitting the ball consciously at that point, I guarantee you. And same with hitting a tennis ball or baseball or any other kind of sport, diving off a board. Louganis, I think it was Greg Louganis, he used to do visualizations of the perfect dive. The perfect dive. I think all Olympic athletes do visualizations for their perfect performance. I used to use it for going on stage. I would visualize myself giving the performance, being spontaneous, being creative. All of the things that I wanted to create on stage, I would do in my mind. So maybe Shakespeare really was right. All the world is a stage. Because if you rehearse going in to talk to your boss who in the past has caused you to be afraid or get nervous or make your tongue get tied, as they say, and not be able to say what you want to say, or anyone else, of course, I'm just using that example. But if you have some situation in your life where you are less resourceful than you absolutely somewhere inside of you know that you could probably be if you just were able to access it, then you can use those mental rehearsals just like the athletes do. You can imagine yourself. Your imagination is the most powerful part of you. It's more powerful than your conscious mind. The conscious mind is your willpower. That's where your willpower is. That's using conscious effort and willpower. The conscious mind is good at making decisions, taking in information and all of that. Once you've learned something, like driving the car, try to drive consciously sometime. Or try to talk consciously or walk consciously. It's very strange because you don't really know what you're doing because it's already been learned. It's all unconscious now. So everything that you've ever learned is stored at the unconscious level. Once you've learned it, the movements, you can improve them through visualization, mental rehearsals. I do this with people who have a fear of something. You do a mental rehearsal with them to imagine them in that situation, being safe, comfortable, whatever ways they want to feel, in other words. Because what they have been thinking about in the past that's been supporting what they're feeling are all of those negatives. They're all of you create the physical response of fear based on something you're thinking, a way of thinking. It doesn't just show up. Now, it does just show up once it's trained in. And if it's showing up inappropriately or in a way that's interfering with your life in some way, it's really nice to know that since it was trained in, since it was a learned response, you weren't born with it. You didn't come out of the womb with that fear. Fear of bridges, fear of anything, any kind of fear like that. Other than I think they say we start out with two fears. They say. Now I always pause for a moment. My unconscious makes me pause now whenever I hear myself say or someone else say. They say, right? There you go. So I don't know if this is true or not. Just like everything else, it's what we seem to know up till now. But they seem to think that you come into the world with two fears. I think one is fear of falling, and I don't remember the other one. It might be loud noises. I don't really recall. If you know, you can call in and tell me at 727-493-2055, and you can tell me if that's not accurate. But anyway, we come in with two fears. The rest of them are learned. Is my point that I'm attempting to make here. So if it's a learned response, whether it's a fear, any of these things that are learned, your mind did it. Your mind can change it. Matter of fact, your mind is the only thing that can change it. So you hit pause in those moments. If you're in the middle of something, find a way to pause pause those patterns that have been learned, those pathways that go to fear. Once you start to notice you're starting to think about it, if you hit pause and take that breath that I like to take, because it kind of shoots some oxygen to the brain and kind of perks you up a little bit there. And all of a sudden you're back here in your power center instead of out there, and where you can think clearly. And in that moment, you can say, wait a minute, my mind was going in that direction. I don't want to get into that mode of whatever that was taking me to anymore. Now at the very least, you have interrupted that neural pathway. At the very least, you have made an interruption. The more times you interrupt it, the less flowing it will be in that direction. And now once you've interrupted it, you want to send it in a good direction. You want to send it where you want to be. So what do you want instead of that? Because when I ask people, what do you want? They say, I don't want to be afraid anymore. That's not a goal. That's what you don't want. And that's why they're still afraid, because they are thinking about what they don't want. I don't want to be afraid. That's not a goal. A goal is, I want to be calm. That's a goal. Now your mind goes, oh, see, even when I say it, my mind and my physiology tend to bring forth a more calm demeanor, because there's power in your thoughts. That's where the power is. So, and the words also represent. I think I talked once about when we were talking about the working with cancer and pain and things, that they've done studies that show that the word pain, when the doctor or nurse walks into the hospital room and says, how is your pain today? Upon hearing that word pain, just upon hearing that word, the experience of pain instantly increases. Now, guess what? When they come to me with chronic pain or any other kind of pain, and we start talking, we start it in that language, because that's what they, where they hear it from the doctor. That's the way they're used to talking, and we have to know where we're starting. We instantly then turn it into something that we want to. That's not the goal. Obviously, pain is not the goal, and feeling less pain is not an accurate goal for telling the mind what you want. That's not what you want. You don't want that pain. You don't want the focus on there. Remember, you move in the direction of your dominant thought. And so what do you want instead of the pain? Sometimes that's the best way to ask yourself. If you can't think of what would be instead of that, just think, what's the opposite? What's the opposite of pain? Comfort. So when they come to me, instead of a pain scale of 1 to 10 like the doctors use, I have a comfort scale. And it's 1 to 100, because I like to show them big movement. I like that big movement. Plus, it takes it out of that realm of what they talk to the doctor about. So all of those things have connotations. Everybody knows about white coat syndrome. You walk into the doctor's office, they take your blood pressure. It's very common, and almost everyone, instantly their blood pressure goes up just being in the doctor's office. Because what happened, what does the doctor, other than going in for your annual physical, and even nowadays people even freak out about that. Oh my gosh, what are they going to find? What are they going to find? What's wrong with me? So you have control over how you think about those things. I used to not enjoy going to the dentist. I don't know if any of you share that experience or that feeling about going to the dentist. I don't know, but I really didn't enjoy it, and especially when they would put those needles, in your gums. I just really didn't like that at all. All my life, that was something I really didn't like. So, I started learning these techniques, and one of the things I learned with Dr. Preston out in Arizona was hypnotic anesthesiology, or hypnoanesthesia, some people call it. And voila, I discovered that some of the things I'd used for different things in my life that I didn't necessarily connect to it, I discovered that you can learn to inject invisible, imaginary Novocaine or something to numb your jaw. And I think it took me 2 or 3 years before I finally got the nerve to actually go and have some dental work done without anesthesia. But I thought, I got it. I know it's done. I know it's possible. I know other people are doing it. Let's go for it. So one day I made the commitment. I said, we're doing this. Told the dentist I don't use anesthesia. He freaked out, and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. He's the one nervous, not me. Anyway, so I have done a lot of dental work through the years. The first time was amazing to me. I was really shocked and surprised. No, well, not shocked, but I was pretty surprised, because there I was, and I think I had a crown put on, or a filling or something. It was something in the back. And then I had some more work done a little while later, and had some more work done a little while later. And many years later now, I am in Florida, and about 6 months ago, I think it's been now, or might be longer, might be about, I don't know. Anyway, sometime last year, and I had some front teeth that I'd been wanting to get to looking better for a long time. So I said, I'm going to go for it. And I found a new dentist here that I really liked, and I had 6 front crowns put on, the top front crowns. And it took 2 sessions, and the dentist, when I announced I wasn't going to use anesthesia, and I got to admit now, I'll admit to you, only to you because I'm talking to you. Wouldn't admit to the dentist. I was a little bit, I had a little bit of a twinge of apprehension thinking, now, wait a minute, I've done stuff in the back of my mouth, but this is like right front and center, 6 teeth, 2 sessions. This is going to be pretty serious stuff. And I instantly rejected those thoughts, and I said, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. It's all the same. My mind is going to do exactly what it's always done the other times. So I went in and I told the dentist I wasn't going to use anesthesia. No numbing, no nothing. I didn't need it. And went through both sessions. I have beautiful front teeth now. See? I don't know if you can see them from that distance. Anyway, and it was a wonderful experience. Now for me, I have one thing you need for hypnosis to work is motivation. It has to be something important enough to you. I would never try to talk someone into going to the dentist without anesthesia. If somebody's allergic to anesthesia, guess what? It might be nice. Maybe there's other methods, but sometimes it is necessary. Sometimes it's helpful to just use less of those chemicals in your body. It's nice. You can recover faster. So anyway, I've done a lot of things with no anesthesia, but here's the thing. I'm a trainer. I'm a hypnosis trainer. It's very important to me that I walk the walk, that I can tell people I have had dental work done, major dental work with no anesthesia. I have had, I fixed my eyes. I used to wear glasses, and then for 11 years now, I haven't had to wear glasses. I show them in my trainings that I do, my classes, because I have my old glasses and my prescription sunglasses I used to wear. And I haven't worn them since I moved to Florida 11 years ago. I moved here from California, and I had been working on them for 3 years at that point using hypnosis and eye exercises and things. And I had to take a driving test, and I had pretty strong glasses. I don't need them anymore. Don't need them anymore. So it's pretty cool. So anyway, that's my part of my motivation is to have something to offer on a firsthand experience for my students, for people in my classes that I teach. So I think I mentioned I do have a hypnosis certification training. We do them twice a year. And I have one starting tomorrow night. So I'll be in teaching a class tomorrow, Friday evening. Tomorrow's the 8th. Yeah, Friday evening and all day Saturday and Sunday. And then we have 5 more weekends for certification. They're not consecutive, but we do this twice a year. The next one will probably be starting in September, sometime around September. And we certify through the International Association of Counselors and Therapists, for which I am a certified master trainer. And the trainings are also enough hours to be qualified to join the International Medical and Dental Hypnotherapy Association, of which I am a life fellow, proudly. And also any other, I don't think there's another hypnosis organization in the world, probably, that wouldn't accept the training for certification or for membership. So so far, at least, I haven't heard of one that does. The only ones that wouldn't, by the way, and I do want to, there is a caveat here, license. There are some organizations that I can't join no matter how many years I'm a hypnotherapist or how many degrees I get in hypnosis. They don't care about that. And that is, there's a couple of organizations that are just for licensed mental health counselors or those kind of things. So those are the ones that probably, I don't know though. I think some people even told me they accepted it for continuing education at least, because a lot of the psychologists, we've got one in the class this weekend, a lot of psychotherapists, psychologists, chiropractors, we get a lot of people in the trainings because it's people wanting to learn how to do things more efficiently, more effectively, quicker, faster, in the most healthy way possible. Integrative medicine is such a big thing now that a lot of people are learning hypnosis. I actually can give continuing education for nurses for this weekend that I'm doing starting tomorrow night. And they get 20 units. I think they call them CNEs. And that is through the American Holistic Nurses Association in conjunction with my affiliation with Alpha University in Louisiana, which is a state licensed university in Louisiana that I'm an adjunct faculty member for. Throwing out all my credentials here. I got a million of them. Well, maybe not quite that many. So anyway, that's what we're doing this weekend. And we do a lot of classes for the public because I love to teach. Self-hypnosis is what it is. So I love to teach people and introduce them to their unlimited mind. And that's what this is. So if you have any questions, if you would like more information, you can go to uphypnosis.com. You can go to info@uphypnosis.com and email me for that free self-hypnosis booklet that I give. That is the booklet that I give. I think it's about 12, 14-page booklet. Instructions on how to do self-hypnosis. It's the one that I do give out in that class. I call it Your Unlimited Mind Self-Hypnosis Training. I do it once a month. It's usually the last Saturday of the month, although I think this month it might not be because of the training is several weekends this month. So the next few months it might be on a different Saturday, but it's always on a Saturday from 1 to 4. It's a 3-hour class. And during that class, we do a focus exercise. I talk you through at least one hypnotic process where you can experience what it's like to allow yourself to go into hypnosis, because you have to cooperate. You have to be a partner in it. You always hypnotize yourself based on the guidance sometimes, or the guidance of either a person like myself, or maybe a CD or something like that, or you can just do self-hypnosis, and it's just very easy to learn. And by the way, you hypnotize yourself all the time. If you don't believe me, just think about something you're challenged with in your life. I guarantee you, if it's something you're challenged with that is possible for you, the reason you aren't achieving it, whether it's a money goal, a financial goal, a relationship goal, a career goal, a life goal, it doesn't matter, a health goal, whatever it is that you have a challenge with that you know is possible and it's still not happening, it's because you've been hypnotizing yourself. You possibly allowed yourself to be hypnotized through other people's opinions, through other people's judgments, or repetition of hearing something over and over and over when you were 3 years old. There's many, many ways that we get hypnotized. Repetition is one way to hypnotize yourself. If you want to create a new habit of something, have you ever, some of you may have, I'm down to 5 minutes. I'm just talking away here. If any of you ever joined a gym, it's New Year's and you're going to join the gym, right? So you join a gym. I hear this story a lot. And you go, I'm going to go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every morning, 7 o'clock in the morning every week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, first week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, second week. Maybe the third week, something comes up. You got an ache or a pain. Oh, I think I'll skip Wednesday. Next week, something else comes up. Something else comes up. But you know what? If you kept doing the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and if you did it long enough, I don't know how long that would be, but if you did it long enough, then after a certain point in time, you would wake up in the morning automatically if you trusted enough and don't set your clock. You would wake up at that time that you always have to get up to go to the gym. And at some point, it would be so automatic that it would feel really weird. It would feel very strange and uncomfortable if you didn't get up and go to the gym. I know that for a fact because that's the way we create habits. Once you've done it for a certain length of time and it's trained into the unconscious, which is where all learning occurs, then it feels strange if you don't do it. Try going to a hotel somewhere out of town and forget your toothbrush. How strange does it feel in the morning when you wake up? You got to have that toothbrush. That's a habit. You didn't come out of the womb with that habit. You trained it in. Now, maybe your parents trained it in, but you did it through repetition over and over and over and over, just like everything else you ever learned. So if you think of it like that, the mind is very efficient. If you've got a learned behavior, a learned response, back to the conditioned response. See, I'm closing loops little by little. Some of them may not close till another show. So you really need to keep listening to this show and go back and listen to the archive shows, because there is a thread of sense and relevance and continuity in what I do. It just may not be immediately apparent to your conscious mind because it's so much more limited than your unconscious mind, which I'm talking to all of the time. So anyway, what was I talking about? So here we are. We are at the Talk WOD Studios I just love that name. I don't know why. It's just different and strange and bizarre. And you can go to talkwad.com and watch the archived shows under the Empowerment Station. The Empowerment Station, because that's what this is about. When you're up, you're stronger. When you're up, when you're thinking a positive thought, your physiology gets stronger, your immune system gets stronger, your muscles get stronger. We talked about the muscle testing, the kinesiology that a lot of the chiropractors are using now, and I think a lot of homeopathic doctors use it as well. And it's definitely in the hypnosis and the NLP world, the muscle testing. You get stronger. So if you're in charge of your mind, why would you choose to think something that's going to make you weaker? If you think of it like that, just hit that pause button. If you're feeling weaker, if you're feeling weak, hit pause. Bring yourself up. I talked about it before. Stand up, look up, think up, start laughing, do something silly, focus on the beautiful sky. Florida has beautiful skies. Whatever you can put your mind on that'll make you think in a positive direction is going to be healthier, going to make you happier. It's going to make you more up. I think I told you I have Think Up as my license plate. I've had that ever since I moved to Florida 11 years ago. I love it. It reminds me, constant reminders. I have that up symbol everywhere. It reminds me if I am not remembering to bring myself up, I have no one to blame. There's no one else to blame if you're down. I don't care what your situation is. Whatever situation you're in, you can be more up. You are in charge of that, though. If you wait for someone else, you're going to have a long wait. So have fun with it and play with it. And when you're feeling good is a good time to start, because when challenging times come, and they always do, you will already have the mechanism in place to make the most of it and to get on the other side of it with whatever gifts were there, whatever learnings were there, whatever lessons. Because other than that, it's going to be there anyway. You might as well make the most of certain things that are going on in life. And some of those challenges can end up being your greatest gifts, can end up giving you your best strengths. Your best resources that you can use then to even have a better life, a higher life, a more up life. So I don't know if I've gotten the 1 minute sign yet. I don't think so. But I want to remind you, I am here every Thursday evening, 7:30 to 8:30. Didn't have any callers today, but that's okay, because I just was talking and talking and talking. And if you would like to call in next Thursday, join me next Thursday. I will be talking some more about some of the studies on mind-body medicine. I believe I'll go back to that a little bit more, since that is one of my main passions. And I will be having some guests in the studio from time to time. I may invite Yoda back at some point. He's still kind of on the outs with me because he didn't perform well last time. So I may bring him back, maybe next week, maybe the week after. So watch the archived shows, if you will, and have fun, think up. And I'm waiting for the signal here. I don't know how much time I got. Oh, wrap it up. Okay. Think up, and remember, life is filled with unlimited possibilities. Thank you.